one of the most notorious serial killers that you never heard of. That's because he has never been arrested or charged with murdering anyone. None of his alleged victims have ever been found, and he died at age 75 in 2013. So why would anyone think he's a serial killer? It's because his own daughter has come forward to tell the story and tell law enforcement. She also says she was there, helping him move the bodies. Tonight, a live interview with the reporter who broke the story and was there as the cadaver dogs searched for victims in rural western Iowa. But first, this is 20-month-old Quentin Simon, a child who was living in Savannah, Georgia with his mom, a child who was reported missing on October 5th, a child who has been presumed dead by investigators. What happened to Quentin and who is responsible? Tonight, we take a closer look at the adults in Quentin's life. His mother, Leilani, who has a history with law enforcement. His grandmother, Billy Joe, who had legal custody of Quentin. His babysitter, who was supposed to watch him the day he disappeared. His mother's boyfriend, Danny, who was at the house the morning he went missing. And Bubba, his father, who lived a couple of hours away. Who is telling the truth and who has a reason to lie? We are live in Savannah with all the latest. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And there is a big difference between children versus adults. We are different. We have different roles, right? We, the adults, are in charge. We are the responsible ones. Our role is to take care of the children. I mean, I know it's obvious to you and everyone else, but let's establish this off the top, that the grown-ups are in charge, but the grown-ups are also responsible. The grown-ups are the ones who are making decisions. The grown-ups are the ones who protect the children. The job of children is to, listen to your parents, to do the best you can, have some fun, smile, all of that. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I think everyone kind of follows that. And obviously with children of different ages, they start to gain certain responsibilities. And we as parents, our role changes a little bit, but we're always there to help, guide, and still you're always going to protect your own children. I don't care if they're teenagers, adults, whatever. You're going to. Let's talk about Quentin Simon. He was just 20 months old. At 20 months old, what does a child do? A child is just blooming into their personality. They're walking. Many of them are talking a mile a minute, asking some questions and putting words together and just noticing the whole world around them. 20 months. So 20 months, the adults in your life have a huge role. I mean, it's like everything. Food, shelter, decisions, when to sleep, where to sleep. I mean, everything. You have to do everything for that child. 20 months is young. There is no independence for a 20-month-old. Where are they going? They're going nowhere. So as we think about Quentin Simon, who disappeared, who's presumed dead, when you think about what happened to him, I think you have to look at who was in his life, who were the adults in his life. And let's begin with two right off the top. Grandma versus mom. Our understanding, grandma has a huge role in Quentin's life, had legal custody. Billy Joe, legal custody. Her home that Quentin was living in. Leilani is the mom, she's the mother. So, I mean, a mother, whether you have legal custody or not, is still your mother. And the question that has to be clarified is, when he was in that house and before he went missing, you know, what was the role of mom versus grandma in the care, custody, and control of little Quinton? Big question. Then there are two men also we need to talk about here. Leilani's boyfriend versus Quinton's dad, and what their roles were in the day-to-day interaction, care, custody, and control of Quinton. All of that needs to be examined, because when a 20-month-old is not here, it's because of something that an adult either did or didn't do. And you've got to get that information. And who is telling the truth, who has a reason to lie, whose story adds up, who was where, when, all of that, so relevant. So tonight in the show, we're going to take a closer look at the adults connected to Quinton, the adults in his life. Let's begin with his family, show you the family tree. It's not huge to show what's happening here, but you see Quinton, and you've got his mom, Leilani, and his dad, Henry Bubba Moss. They're not together, they're living separately, hours apart. Then you've got Danny Youngkin. This is Leilani's boyfriend. It seems that in terms of physical proximity and day-to-day role in Quinton's life around the time when he went missing, probably more connected than his dad, just because of geography, let alone anything else. And then there's Billy Joe, Leilani's mom, Quinton's grandma. Big role in that little guy's life. So we're going to take a look at all this. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janie, who's joining us live tonight from that command center at the landfill where they are searching for Quinton. And when I say searching for Quinton, they're searching for remains. It's incredibly tragic, but that's where they believe the evidence has led them to now. So let's begin first with the search, where you are. Any word from investigators? Any progress? How close are they to finishing, going through whatever they need to go through there?
Vinny, no word today from police. And you mentioned that this is a recovery, essentially. It's a search for remains. It makes this so much more somber of a case to cover and to understand what's going on, because these men and women who are coming here every day to search, the law enforcement investigators who are on this case, they are doing this because they want to hopefully find those remains and then provide a respectful resting place for this little boy. You see behind me, there's a squad unit that is here at the command center, still guarding it. Those bright lights are on it. They've taken over part of a public park, but this is all because they want to be as close as possible to that private landfill where those searchers go day in and day out. But today, though we sometimes hear from police, we did not hear anything new from them. The latest that we heard from them is that this is a slow process. They want the public to be patient with them, and they have 100 men and women who are working day in and day out on finding some closure to this case and understanding what may have happened to little Quentin Simon.
And this search, this is not just, hey, let's look at the local landfill. It seems that there might have been some specific evidence that led them there, because the first thing is they would have to come to the conclusion in this investigation that Quentin's no longer alive. And it seems that they did do a search of the general area, right? When a child goes missing, the first thing you do is look in all the water areas and the wooded areas around someone's home. But I think they've done that already.
Absolutely. They've done that. They did that on day one, October 5th, and leading up until October 12th, which is when they announced that he is deceased and that they were now changing the way that they looked at this search. And a week later, they were here at this landfill. We do know that there is a specific dumpster that they believe was taken to that specific place. So it's not just that they are searching this entire landfill. They are looking at a particular place, because they keep track of that at a landfill, where dumpsters go. And they're looking through that portion of this landfill to hopefully find what they're looking for. All they have said about, on the record, what is there is that it's remains and that it's from a dumpster, but they have not said where that dumpster was, how close in proximity it may have been to the players or to the locations that we're already familiar with in this case.
Okay, let's go now to what you were doing today. My understanding is that you left the general area where Quentin was last seen in Savannah and hit the road to head towards his dad's house. What did you find out? How far away is it? And what is going on near, I guess, Bubba's home, because his father's name is Bubba?
Yeah, Vinny, Henry Bubba Moss. We wanted to talk to him. We wanted to get his take on the loss of his biological son, this search. He's even someone who was alleged to have been involved, according to police. That's something that was mentioned to them early in this investigation, that this was an abduction. You've heard us report that the FBI was involved, and that was one of the reasons that the FBI got on this case early on, is they were told this could be an abduction and that the biological father, who was not a custodial parent, could have been part of it. But here's a look at just where Henry Bubba Moss would have been located. So the home where Quentin was last seen is here in Savannah, and about 10 miles away from that is this landfill, so where we are right now. But that's all in Savannah. The distance to Girard, Georgia, which is a small town, about 150 to 250 total people there, that's where he lives and has lived and worked. So we did go by his house today. We were told that he is not interested in doing any more interviews at this time, that they've been through a loss in the family. So in terms of the police investigation, they did the same thing. They went out to Girard, Georgia, or they had him come here to Savannah and talk to him, and they were able to determine that he was at work at the time, he was at home, and that he was not a suspect in this case. So they have confirmed that he's not someone that they're looking into in the death of Quentin Simon. But I did talk to someone who did speak to him. I know we'll get to that a little bit later, but we understand that he may have had some concerns about what was going on at that house here in Savannah.
So let's talk about the house in Savannah. What was the scene like there today?
The scene is constant and it is tense. There is a standoff of sorts that's going on, and it's happening every single day. We're now 22 days since the first police report of this little boy being missing. This is just a little bit of video that I was able to take while I was there. This is what we see constantly. You see across the street those people who are holding up signs, they are pointing at this house, they're yelling at this house. They want justice, they want accountability, but they also say no justice, no sleep. They do this into the night, making sure that they keep the pressure, is how they describe it, on this family that they believe is responsible for the death of this little boy. And they don't think that has been enough when it comes to charges and arrests, because there have not been any in this case. But that's the scene. It's constant, but at night it definitely ramps up when it comes to the clash between those in the house and those who are out on the street.
Well, speaking of ramping up, I want to show folks. Last night you were at the house and I was speaking with you, and I want to remind the folks watching tonight what it was like when you were trying to report on what was happening in this investigation. Let's take a quick look at that.
And she actually crossed the street. Her house is not too far from here. She has her own memorial set up in front of her house. She made her way over to the house to help search, but she said she didn't go inside. She was searching around the property. Oh, I've been reaching out to Leilani for days now. We've tried every avenue that we can. Of course, it is difficult because they are very leery of anyone coming onto their property because of all of the commotion that's been here every night. But we've sent messages, we've called, we've left a note.
All right, again, that was last night, Julia. As I was sitting here, I know folks who were watching were like, what is going on? It just seemed like the intensity was building and building. I couldn't even tell how close they were to you. But where were they directing all this noise? Were they directing it at the house? Were they directing it at us? What was going on there last night?
At times it was both. Vinny. They were directing most of it at the house, but we could tell that our cameras there seemed to be a reason that they would get louder, knowing that they were live at that point, and some of it was directed at the media. You heard some claims of fake news. Not sure if that was directed just at us or the media in general, but this can be a rowdy crowd at night. A woman that I talked to today who's there, she apologized for the way some people were last night. It's not everyone who's there. There are some people who say their own children were taken by the system, and they feel that this mother should be dealing with more. So an interesting dynamic there across the street. But there are some people who are there from far away. There's one woman, Billhorn Betty, who is from Florida. She's known on YouTube. She goes to different cases like this to demand justice in certain cases. So she's been there with the bullhorn. You heard the air horn. They want to disturb things there in front of that house to show this family that's inside of that house that they're not going to sleep. They're not going to just let them stay quiet while this investigation continues.
Okay, how about the neighbors? Right? I mean, we could hear it, you know, on the air last night through the microphones, but I could imagine if you're in that neighborhood, you know, and you don't live in that home, some of the other houses might be hearing it. Are the neighbors on board with the noise and the disruption? Are they getting a little tired of it? Any indication one way or the other how the neighbors feel about all this?
Well, there's at least one neighbor I know who talked to me who said that he is not happy about it. He was there in front of them on one of the days trying to get people to not honk. So he was the counter protester to them, but really not making much headway, and I didn't see him many days after that. I do want to show you some video. So there's not much response out of the house. They shine their light down on the people who are there, and they stay quiet for the most part, but I noticed after the commotion that you just showed from last night, after our live shot was over, there was someone from the house who put a disco ball out on the fence. And it seemed to be a woman. Can't tell you exactly who it was. Looked like they had blonde hair and a ponytail. But it just seemed to be a response to what is happening on the other side. You could tell that got under the feathers of those people who have been demonstrating. They felt that that was a slap in the face to put something like a party disco ball out while they are calling for answers on a missing little boy. So there's tension, there's a clash. It will continue until either this gets to the point where they feel they need to go home or there's an announcement. I expect it won't be until there's an announcement out of the people who are here at this command center.
It is an interesting dynamic, to say the least, because you got the folks in the house shining the lights on the protesters, putting out the disco ball. They're with the blowhorns, the baby noises, and the screaming and the honking. All right. Julie Janae in Savannah tonight. She's staying with us. We're going to bring in our experts when we come back, and then we're going to go through one by one the people who were closest, the adults in Quinton's life. Plus, coming up next hour. In Los Angeles, California, former star of that 70s show, Danny Masterson, on trial, accused of raping 3 women, all former members of the Church of Scientology. We are live in LA with the biggest moments from inside and outside of the courtroom.
There is high interest in the Danny Masterson case, not just because of Danny Masterson, but really because of the Church of Scientology.
Holly Osborne, a woman accused of killing her husband in his sleep.
Murdered him in his own bed.
2 revolvers on the ground next to the bedstand.
Holly Osborne's not guilty.
This is a case of jealousy.
The big fights centered around Dr. Osborne's infidelity.
And insecurity.
She directly contradicted herself.
Can the defense put reasonable doubt in the minds of this jury?
The Sleeping Husband Murder Trial. Trial coverage weekday mornings at 9/8 Central on Court TV.
Actually licensed everything.
Only information that I have is that the boyfriend woke up, saw the child at 6 a.m. The mother woke up at some other time later and then reported the child missing at 9:39. I believe the call came into 911. So
Two key times, right? Given there by investigators. We're talking about the disappearance of 20-month-old Quentin Simon down in Savannah, Georgia. 9:39, that call to 911 was made. That's always crucial. Let's look through the short timeline that we have been able to put together so far. You've got October 5th, 5:29. Texts were sent to the babysitter saying no services needed for Quentin that day. To me, that's fascinating. Like 5:29. At 6 o'clock, Leilani's boyfriend tells police that he saw Quentin. So what is the reason before 6 o'clock that you're not going to need the babysitter? 9:39, 911, as we just heard from investigators, was called to report Quentin missing. 1 o'clock, the FBI joined the police in the search. Okay, that's significant. FBI on board right away. October 12th, law enforcement informs the family they believe Quentin is deceased and Leilani is the prime suspect. October 18th, the search for evidence in the landfill begins. So that's a timeline. So let's go through some of the adults, the people in baby Quentin's life. And still with us, Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae. Also joining us tonight, Dr. Janie Lacy, psychotherapist, CEO of Life Counseling Solutions down in Orlando, and Jason Jensen, private investigator, Salt Lake City, Utah. Great to see everyone tonight. All right, Julia, why don't you tell us first about Leilani and Billy Joe. We're talking about Quentin's mom and grandma.
A mom and grandmother, and very close when it comes to the children of Leilani. Leilani's 22 years old, and she has lived on again, off again with her mother, even after becoming a mother herself. This mother-daughter relationship was not without issues. We don't know the extent of them from them personally. We have reached out to them and at this time have not gotten a response yet on the record, but we do know from court documents that there was a point in time when the state had to come in and give custody to the grandmother in this case. That would be Billy Joe Howell. Leilani Simon has 3 children in total. She has one that's older than Quentin and one that's younger. So the one older was born in 2019. Quentin was born in 2021, and another girl was born this year. So this document that we were able to obtain from the Child Support Services Office, it shows that the non-custodial parent is Leilani Simon, meaning the children, the older 2 children, were not in her custody. And also that the person, the non-parent custodian, the one who actually had custody of at least those 2 boys, was Billy Joe Howell. And that home that we're seeing now, that's a home that's owned by Howell and her husband. But it seems that at least at some point, even though one grandmother has the custody, she was allowing them to live there in the home, them being Leilani Simon and her boyfriend, who did have that younger child together, the one that was born this year. In looking at the property from where we can, we know there's 4 rooms inside the actual house, but there seems to be a second efficiency, like a side apartment that is also behind that wooden fence, and a camper. So we don't know exactly where they were staying with baby Quentin, but there is a bit of property behind those walls that all of those people who are demanding answers are looking at every day.
Dr. Janie Lacy, this is I think an important dynamic in the case and what happened to Quentin, because you've got grandma who has custody, legal custody, and then Leilani, but they're all living under the same roof. That's got to cause some tension between the 2.
Well, when we do psychological evaluations and mental health evaluations versus who we would recommend custody to versus who we recommend is not the custodian parent, we're taking in all the factors. We're looking at their habits, their behaviors. We're looking at evidence base. So when you're putting all these people in the family unit together in one household, and there are certain stipulations around custodial care, right? It can cause a lot of dynamics and a lot of power struggles and a lot of psychological manipulation sometimes in these family systems. So sometimes it's not the healthiest that we would recommend for a child to be among these types of setups, especially if the custodian parent is not necessarily involved in the way that they should be.
All right, Julia, tell us about Danny Youngkin. What do we know about him?
Well, we know that he is the boyfriend of Leilani Simon. She says on Facebook that they're engaged and changed her name to his. They share that baby girl together, but we haven't spoken to him, haven't seen anything from him. We have not heard from police anything specific other than the fact that he was the one who let police know that he did see that child at 6 o'clock in the morning. That would have been about 3 hours before the call was made to police to say that he was missing. And we know from the babysitter that his phone was the one that sent that text early on to say that we don't need you today. He will be staying with his mom. That would have been Leilani Simon. But I want to let you listen to DailyMail.com senior reporter Sean Cohen, who was able to talk to the biological father of this baby, and also he was able to report on a recorded conversation that he obtained between the biological father and the biological grandmother, Billie Jo Howell. Take a listen.
Danny Youngkin, her boyfriend, who was there that morning and was the last to reportedly see Quinton at 6 in the morning, he's left town and he hasn't spoken, at least to the media. So I would be very interested to hear what he has to say about that morning.
What Cohen also learned is that in that recorded conversation, he learned that Billie Jo Howell doesn't believe that he's in Atlanta. She believes that he's in a different location and feels that he should have to come and face the consequences of what happened. It should be looked into more closely. And that's something that we've been asking and would like to hear a response from that camp there at the home where little Quentin was last seen alive.
Jason Jensen, Danny Youngkin seems to be crucial in all of this. I mean, it's his phone sending the text. He's the one last seeing the child, and all of a sudden he's nowhere near Savannah.
Right, yeah. It definitely has that sense that maybe there's some kind of responsibility. He's culpable for this missing child, or, now it's been reported that Quinton's deceased. Or maybe he was just a willful participant in this ruse that it seems to be that was perpetrated originally, that they just didn't need a babysitter, but it sounds like there was actually some kind of demise to the child that they were trying to cover up and throw investigators off. So which is it and what is his role? I think will eventually come forward, because he's not going to want to have dirty hands with all this. That's not his child. The youngest daughter is, and if he has any hopes to have, that child in his life, he's going to have to come clean and help, clean up this mess of what's going on between Leilani and Quinton.
Absolutely. All right. Guests are staying with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about Quinton's dad, and how about the babysitter, someone who's not in the family. Maybe give us a better perspective on exactly what was going on. Don't go anywhere. The search for little Quinton, 20 months old, continues tonight. Still with us, Julia Janae, Court TV legal correspondent. She's in Savannah. Dr. Janie Lacy and Jason Jensen, investigator, with us. Julia, what do we know about Quinton's father and the babysitter? What sort of information?
Vinny, the babysitter's information, she was able to give us an interview off camera, didn't want her name used, but she did have time codes that are so important to this case. Not only the fact that she saw the baby the day before when she cared for him in the afternoon. The next day, she got that 5:29 a.m. text saying she was not going to be needed that day. Then she got a call at 9 o'clock asking her to come over to help look for Quentin. She said that they asked her, do you have him? Wanting to know know if maybe he had gotten over to her house for some reason. She said from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, so in the hours before the call, she was out on her front porch and she didn't notice anyone wandering around. She didn't notice the baby. She even told me she believes if he was wandering around, he would have eventually come to her house. She also said, after I asked her if he'd ever been wandering around before, she said once he was in a ditch with his brother across the street and she had to call his mother to come get him. She said she never noticed any obvious signs of neglect or abuse when it comes to the time that she was babysitting him. We also know from the biological father, essentially through the reporting that has come out, and this is Bubba, who you mentioned, the father who does not live here in Savannah, who was once looked at as possibly having the child. He told DailyMail.com senior reporter Sean Cohen this about what he thought about the relationship between his son and his biological mother.
At the initial discussion with cops, he told them that that Leilani, was a threat to Quinton.
All of that coupled together with the fact that the state did have that custody in the hands of his grandmother. Vinny?
Absolutely. Dr. Janie Lacy, sometimes when parents, they're not together and they share a child, there could be some bad blood. But it seems like his instincts may have been right that there was some danger for Quinton because Quinton is nowhere to be found.
When parents are co-parenting together and one may not necessarily be fond of the other, they tend to pay a little bit more attention to the parent of the other, to the one who's primarily taking care of their child. So sometimes they'll notice things because they're a little bit more hyper vigilant, and we shouldn't take those things and be dismissive of them at all because they can be very relevant, especially in this case.
And Jason Jensen, when you talk about the babysitter, really an important witness, an outside witness to everything that was happening in his life, but especially that day and that morning.
Right, that day it really revealed that there's this inconsistency, that the message that they get before the disappearance just seems odd timing. If you were going to need somebody, that's fine, but then all of a sudden the child turns up missing, it makes you wonder if there was something that happened to the child the evening before or over the course of the night, and this was just a ruse to throw off the babysitter and maybe delay involvement with law enforcement.
All right, we will continue to track whatever happens. Julie Janae, great reporting down in Savannah, Georgia. Dr. Janie Lacy, Jason Jensen, great insight. Thank you as well. When we come back, folks, what a strange story this is. We're talking about the search for a serial killer's victims, but is the serial killer actually a serial killer? Well, according to his daughter, he is. And we will speak with the reporter who broke the story and was there when the cadaver dogs started looking for some of those victims. All of that coming up. In Manchester, New Hampshire, little Harmony Montgomery disappeared in 2019. But her father, Adam, never reported her missing. Harmony is still missing, but Adam has been charged with her murder. We have the latest from the courtroom.
Second-degree murder for recklessly causing the death of Harmony Montgomery, a person under 13 years of age.
Health care.
Growing up in the area, we'd heard stories about bodies in a well and stuff. Didn't really have names associated with it and that sort of stuff. But I just thought it was worth looking into.
Unbelievable story tonight. Unbelievable story. Bodies in a well, like dozens and dozens and dozens of bodies. Potential victims of a serial killer. Let me show you his picture. You never heard of him before, but here he is. Donald Dean Studi, alleged serial killer. Who's making the allegations? His daughter. Now, Donald's not alive anymore. He died back in 2013 at age 75. You got to hear this story. Isabella Bosco from our affiliate KMTV has more for us tonight.
Deputy Michael Wake has lived in Tabor, Iowa his whole life and had several dealings with Donald Stute, admitting something seemed off.
We had one time he held himself hostage with a gun. Was threatening to do self-harm. We talked him out of that.
About a year ago, Stute's daughter Lucy contacted the deputy, claiming her father would bring women home and kill them, burying them in a well that's 90 feet deep.
Growing up in the area, we'd heard stories about bodies in a well and stuff. Didn't really have names associated with it and that sort of stuff. But, you know, I just thought it was worth looking into.
This area, Green Hollow Road, is where Donald lived, and the well is up in the hills.
We found the well, and we've people that she has said might know something. We've contacted them and got their statements. We, here in the last week or so, we did take a couple of cadaver dogs up there. They looked at this, you know, they went over the scene. And yes, they indicated.
That's still not enough evidence that there are bodies there. The sheriff says agencies like the FBI and the Iowa Department of Criminal Investigations are providing support. To see if the bodies are there, Sheriff Astrup says this is a possibility.
So if we core drilled some 4-inch holes around there, and if there was that many bodies, we would probably come up with a bone, I would think.
Astrup is getting estimates on how much that would cost. But first, he'll bring back cadaver dogs, bring in metal detectors, and perhaps use ground-penetrating radar to see what's there. He warns the investigation will be slow, but he's making this promise.
We're going to follow through. You know, we're going to finish this one way or another. We're going to get the answers to this.
Is it possible that this guy's one of the most notorious serial killers that we never heard of before? Let me bring in our guest joining us tonight in New York City. Editor-at-large for Newsweek, Naveed Jamali, is with us, and he was there for all of this. And joining us in Los Angeles, California, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon. Naveed, this story, unreal. Did you have an opportunity, and obviously you did, to speak with Donald Stute's daughter? What was the impression that she made on you when she's telling you this unbelievable story?
Well, this is a woman who has been telling the story consistently for 45 years. You know, look, before I was a journalist, I spent a lot of time working undercover as an intelligence officer. I know how to do debriefing. And there's little tells that people make when they're telling a lie. You know, you look down to your left. The consistency, the fact that she was able to point by locations. I was there when the dogs hit on those sites. She did not direct the dogs. The dogs gravitated toward those sites organically. There was 2 dogs. They were brought at separate times. I mean, just this is a very consistent story. Her motive is not money or fame. You know, and again, as a reporter, we've talked to other people that have corroborated bits and pieces of this. And look, I take the standard approach. If you're going to lie about the little things, you can't trust someone about the big things. And so far, we've been able to, you know, corroborate quite a few little things. And I think the big things stand up to them, to what she's saying.
It's unbelievable. So let me ask you, Bobby, the FBI, I don't think, Naveed, has the FBI stepped in to do any searching yet?
I'll be honest. I think the FBI has kind of fudged this. And I'll say it this way, that there's one, and Bobby will, you know, is very well versed in this. There's a line agent who's, you know, junior agent who's been assigned to this case. And frankly, he came out earlier this year and they didn't excavate. They tried to validate that the well existed. And in doing so, they brought a backhoe when they should have been bringing forensic anthropologists. And, you know, that pile that they put out, the dogs hit on it. So I'm not so sure what the FBI is doing. I can tell you the sheriff has been very clear that they have yet to provide any support. They came on the land and dug without checking with him or informing him. So I'm a little hesitant to say that the FBI is involved or that they're even providing assistance at this point. And if they are, it has yet to materialize.
All right, Bobby, give us the inside scoop on how the FBI approaches a situation like this. I mean, the allegations are it's like 50 to 70 potential victims buried in this area. Your thoughts tonight, Bobby?
Well, first, let's be clear. Serial killing is a federal offense, right? There is a federal statute that addresses serial killing. It falls under the jurisdiction of the FBI. If this is a bona fide serial killer case, it would fall under 28 U.S. Code 540, would be the federal statute that covers serial killing. And the FBI is involved. I understand the FBI is coming to a meeting next week in the county. No rush. The alleged perpetrator is dead. The victims there's no more victims to be had. They'll take a slow and methodical approach. I can't speak to what's happened previously, but this would be a case where the FBI would step in. Certainly, you have a finite search area. It would be fairly simple to check out these allegations. It's not hard to do these kinds of excavations. I think Naveed's right. You would bring in forensic anthropologists, which we do all the time. We have them on staff at Quantico. We have them on contract all over the country. It's not uncommon for us to use people like that. And so I think you have a finite area to search. It's not one of these open-ended searches. I think that they'll go in if they find justification. They'll go in, they'll do a careful search, and they'll see what they find. Ground penetrating radar probably would not be effective. Here, we stopped using that a while back, but there are other search methods that probably could be employed to check out whether or not this is a valid concern.
And Naveed, she's saying about 50 to 70 victims, and she was there in some capacity when her father would tell her to do things?
Yeah, I mean, so this is part of it, is that she would, in some cases, help dispose of the bodies, not kill people, but she described several instances in which she witnessed her father and other people bringing bodies and disposing them. The well is just one site. And just one point of clarification, while the former property is 5 acres, if this guy was a serial killer, he's not going to abound by property lines. The actual property is significantly larger. Bobby's right, ground penetrating radar, it's a well, it's not going to be useful. It's a pretty significant body of land. And the images you showed in the intro, it doesn't exactly explain what this is. This is essentially a crater that you have to walk down to. It's completely shielded from the outside world. No one can hear you going in there. There's no foot traffic that goes through. It's a perfect place, as one investigator told me, frankly, to bury a body.
She was telling people for 45 years. Who was she telling, Naveed?
I mean, she tells us, and we've got some, look, listen, we're talking about the 70s and the 80s. If there are records, they're sparse, it's hard to get a hold of, it's not centralized, not digitized. So just getting records has been a chore. We've been able to validate that she did indeed, and you heard the deputy in the outset say that, he's heard her. She came there quite a few years ago, and the sheriff's department has been able to validate that. She told everyone it's a sad case, everyone from her teachers to her principal to priests to counselors to various law enforcement agencies. And, it's just for a number of reasons, while Don Studi was alive, they just never went in there to check, which they could have done and, easily validated or proven this to not be the case. And they just didn't do it.
Bobby, your reaction to that she was telling people all along, and why wouldn't someone kind of take a closer look at all that?
It baffles me that no one's looked into it till now, and I believe, and we can confirm, I think she's even willing to take a lie detector test, and so I think that it seems on the surface to be credible. This seems to be a credible claim, and I think that's why they'll have meetings, they'll and they'll look at the property. I mean, the one thing that I think disturbs me in reading the Newsweek piece is that she claims when they brought her out there that it looks significantly different than it did to her in the 70s, that there may be some logging and some bulldozing. So some of that ground may have been unearthed. But the thing is, if there were that many bodies there, somebody should have found something. We've heard these cases where hunters or somebody walking their dog finds things. And if there was a mass grave, I think if there was some significant excavation by others that something would have been found. But again, even though it's a large area, it's not like, we're not wandering. We're not like wandering in the dark. We have the area. We know where it is. We can do kind of sample searches in different areas. I think that because we know where the area is, we're not just stumbling around in the dark to look. So we have kind of a finite, even though it's large, a finite area that they can do sample searches and maybe come up with something.
All right. We're out of time for tonight, but we're going to stay on this story. Naveed, unbelievable reporting, by the way. Check out the article in Newsweek. It's amazing. Bobby Chacon, your insight, experience, so valuable. Thank you as well. When we come back, top of the hour, we're going to take you live to L.A. Big trial taking place. That 70s star, Danny Masterson, 3 charges of rape. Matt Johnson live when we return. In Los Angeles, California, former star of that 70s show, Danny Masterson, on trial, accused of raping 3 women, all former members of the Church of Scientology. We are live in LA with the biggest moments from inside and outside of the courtroom.
There is high interest in the Danny Masterson case, not just because of Danny Masterson, but really because of the Church of Scientology.
In Manchester, New Hampshire, little Harmony Montgomery disappeared in 2019, but her father, Adam, never reported her missing. Harmony is still missing, but Adam has been charged with her murder. We have the latest from the court.